Appreciate it. I want to thank everyone for taking time out of your day to attend this quick little seminar. The topic for today, and for the last couple of weeks, I understand, has been security. And unfortunately, a lot of organizations don't necessarily put the time and effort into security that they should. So for this seminar, we are going to talk about 3 of the top information security certifications that are out there. Now, I'm not saying that there are only 3. There are other certifications out there, but there are 3 main certifications that are more predominant than the others. Now, as we get started, for this particular seminar, we're going to talk about why we actually need cybersecurity, why we need to take a look at locking down our systems. We're going to talk about the top 3 certifications and the classes themselves and what the focus is within these certifications. Last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about approaching the topic. When it comes to a lot of organizations trying to get the commitment from management to allow you to really focus your attention on cybersecurity, put the time, put the effort, get the resources needed to actually get certified. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ways in which you can possibly approach the topic with management and things to think about when you are trying to implement security within your organizations. Finally, as was just mentioned at the very end, we'll have an opportunity to go through some of the questions and answers. So we'll have a Q&A section as well. Now, I should have said, sorry about that, why do we need cybersecurity? I really hate it when I have typos, but most, if not all, companies use electronic devices to send and even store data. Now, it's obvious that in a lot of organizations we worry about our main servers. We take a lot of time to focus on the DACLs, the discretionary access control lists, to say who can and can't gain access to a resource. We take the time to worry about who has physical access to the server room. We worry about, okay, from our help desk, those folks that are resetting passwords, using something as simple as LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, to update people's passwords from their desk back to the server room. You know what? If someone can see the packets, they can sniff the packets, maybe we should use a VPN and go ahead and incorporate IP security and ESP, encapsulating security payload, to encrypt the information from point A to point B. And we worry about all these different things, but then we forget about some of the more obvious issues that we may run into. Where are the people at when they gain access to the information that we're storing on our servers? And one of the biggest things that we've started to do and we've started to see is the phenomenon of BYOD, bring your own device. And even now I've got my cell phone sitting in front of me, and my little light just flashed letting me know, because every 5 minutes my cell phone goes back out and to see if I have email, company-related email. And within that email I've got documents, and within those documents I could have all kinds of good information as far as spreadsheets, Word documents, PowerPoint presentations, whatever it may be. And we overlook securing the BYODs, the bring your own devices. And a lack of security can and will lead to the failure of your organization. Now, common dangers to data, and everyone taking this seminar, everyone sitting in with us today is familiar with some of the common things that can happen. If I have the ability to utilize the concepts that you've learned from all your other classes, if you've taken any of the A+ classes, the Network Plus classes, if you've taken any of the Microsoft classes, you've learned the proper way to set up your networks, where we utilize the OSI model, the Open System Interconnection model, and we talk about how information is supposed to flow from point A to point Z, and how we build the packets, and how information gets transferred from one computer to another computer. Well, it's great that we understand the concepts and where to place the physical hardware and where to place the services to make sure everything works fast and smooth, and we get information there in a very efficient manner, and hopefully in a secure manner. But in some of the different classes that we teach, and we'll talk about the certifications and the topics in those classes coming up, but one of the things that can happen is if I can manipulate the manner in which information flows from point A to point Z, I can create a man-in-the-middle attack where I can see all the packets that you're sending back and forth. So yeah, I can intercept the information, I can see what's going on, and I can read the information if it's being sent in plain text. I could perform session hijacking where I can alter the information that you're sending back and forth. I can send things as you and create all kinds of havoc within your data, within your websites, within your bank accounts, whatever it may be. And I may even be able to gain access to databases and destroy your data. Now imagine if you are a company, hopefully we don't have anyone from Amazon in here with us because I don't want to offend anybody. But just think about how much business a company like Amazon does every single day. They do $10 to $12 million in sales a day. Can you imagine losing a full day's worth of sales? I know I wouldn't have my job if I were to lose all that information. We need to be able to protect our data. Now, other things that I start worrying about when it comes to protecting information. Some of us might have to worry, based on the industry that you're in, you might have to worry about HIPAA compliance. You might have to worry about Gramm-Leach-Bliley, Sarbanes-Oxley, FSMA. These are all areas where you have to deal with regulatory compliance. Some of the things that you need to worry about is your personally identifiable information, your PII, personally identifiable information, things that can uniquely identify you. And if that information becomes public, because it's supposed to stay private, non-public, and unfortunately within the regulatory statutes, all the things that you read, a lot of times they tell you if you can think it, you have to protect against it. Well, if that personally identifiable information gets out there, you as an administrator, as the enterprise admin, as the chief financial officer, as the CEO, as a officer of your company, you potentially could get fined a lot of money, or without doing any of your due care, showing due diligence, face jail time. Now hopefully, whoever is in charge of your networks does take the time to understand what needs to be protected and how it needs to be protected based on industry standards. But not understanding those industry standards and not understanding whether or not you fall within HIPAA compliance, Gramm-Leach-Bliley, Sarbanes-Oxley. I mean, there are some serious consequences. Besides your company being fined, potentially you facing jail time, a lot of organizations don't even consider the collateral damage that takes place if you don't understand how to protect your information. Now, when we talk about collateral damage, I'll give an example. The VA. Unfortunately, the VA gets a bad rap all the time. You always hear in the news that the VA lost a laptop. 100,000 people's account information was compromised. You hear about Target. I try to go up class, Target. So everyone heard about the credit card issues that they had where the database was compromised. Imagine 100,000 people's accounts being compromised. Hopefully none of you have experienced your PII, personally identifiable information, being revealed through my college. Unfortunately, I just got the letter saying that anyone that has contributed to the school, anyone that has made payments on their student loans, their information may have been compromised. But imagine $25 per credit bureau check, per report, twice a year for 5 years. A lot of people only look at the loss of a laptop or the time it takes to recover the data that may have been deleted as the only damage. Well, if you add up the price of all the credit bureau reports, your time, your effort, oh, by the way, loss of confidence in your organization from the outside world due to the bad publicity. And yeah, there are those people out there that say, any publicity is good publicity. But if you're a financial organization and you're asking people to invest money with your company, and you're in the news because your databases have been compromised, all the financial information of all of the people that invested with your company has been compromised, what are the odds that you're going to be losing business, those people that used to invest with you, and what are the odds that there are going to be new people that want to invest with you? That's some of the collateral damage you have to deal with, along with all the marketing campaigns, the advertising that goes into showing that you are a wonderful company. And ultimately, a result of compromised data could lead to the closure of the company. What if you can't maintain your business any longer? When we start talking about security, we think about hackers coming in. From the outside world, you've got internal folks. You also have the need to protect your data not only from hackers, but natural disasters as well, man-made disasters. And if you can't protect your information, you're not going to have an organization. Now, when we start looking at the wonderful world of IT and some of the security certifications out there, some of the more common certifications that a lot of people will talk about and you'll hear about will be things like CompTIA's Security Plus. You've got CISSP, Certified Information System Security Professional, from ISC squared. EC Council has CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. There are a lot of different certifications out there when it comes to security. We can throw out, there's CASP, there's other certifications like the CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner. We know that there's the EC Council Certified Security Analyst, Licensed Penetration Tester. There's a lot of different certifications. But when it comes to security, these are 3 of the main ones that are out there. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is just talk about the direction that these different certifications kind of go with, as far as the philosophy behind the certifications, the classes, the depth of knowledge, and the prerequisites to go ahead and get these certifications, to sit down, take the test, to get certified. Now, as we start off with CompTIA Security Plus, the audience for this particular certification, a lot of times you're going to see those folks that are looking to get into the world of IT, those people that have taken their A+, Network Plus classes, those that are already in the IT field, help desk, desktop support, and even your network administrators. Now, the focus for this class, and just like the slide says, general security. Well, when we say general security, it's not necessarily going to be the most in-depth knowledge. It's going to be just general FYI, oh, by the way, things to think about. Remember in A+ and Network Plus, we talked about a lovely thing called virtual private networks. And one of the concerns that we have with remote communication, people trying to communicate from their home office, from a remote location back to a Bastion host. And remember Bastion, B-A-S-T-I-O-N, the dedicated server that we connect into first, back at the corporate office. We need to make sure that the information doesn't get compromised. Did you know that if you have, client computers that are 2,000 and above, we can use, a remote protocol, full 2TP, layer 2 tunneling protocol. And by the way, there's a thing called IPsec, IP security, where we can encrypt the data going back and forth. Now, within a class like CompTIA, the Security Plus, there are some hands-on labs. In A Plus and Network Plus, and this is the general progression that we see people take some of the classes, we want people to understand general security, so that way when they interview with companies like yourselves, that they understand the terminology, they understand the basics. There are some hands-on labs where they will go back in and set up a VPN connection and go ahead and set up IP security. They're not necessarily the most in-depth hands-on labs, but it gives the client, the person that is taking these certifications, an idea of where to go to perform some of the different tasks. Now, one of the things that New Horizons does, and this is actually a really great benefit with the classes that we offer as you go towards some of the certifications that we offer, is the labs for these classes. A class like Security Plus, we actually have a tool called Labs on Demand. And so the computers that you're doing the labs on are actually virtual machines held out of our corporate office. Now, with these virtual machines, they're available for 6 months from the end of the class. And the instructions on how to perform the basic tasks, they're part of the lab itself. They're built into the lab machine. You have a set of instructions on the side. And so these are full-blown live machines, virtual machines, and you can get your hands dirty. You can practice, look at the locations of the different resources that are referred to within the class. Now, like I was saying, this is just a general security. We do go into a lot of different topics, but we're not diving real deep into any one topic. So it's just reiterating things that we've talked about in A Plus and Network Plus, reminding you, hey, don't forget, these are things that you want to watch out for. And we'll have some hands-on for it. Now, when you go to take the Security Plus test, there are no requirements as far as how many years in the world of IT. You don't have to already have your A Plus or Network Plus. Will it help you? Most definitely. But one thing I'm going to just mention when it comes to any of the certification tests, this is a broad test. It's asking you the CompTIA way of doing things. A lot of you sitting in this presentation right now have experience in the world of IT. And most of you probably have experienced questions inside of tests with multiple right answers. Now I'm going to just let you know that I do help write certification exams. I do actually write a lot of questions for a lot of these security exams that are out there. I've edited different books. I've gone through, helped write questions for some of the specific certification exams. I'm not going to share which ones, but we do put questions with multiple right answers. And one of the things I'm going to just remind you of is we're not asking in these questions, how would you do the different tasks and what would you set up based on your work environment? We're asking questions based on the CompTIA way, or the Microsoft way, or the EC Council way, the ISC squared way of doing things. And so people with real-world experience are more likely to fail exams than people that only taken classes, because you tend to answer questions based on real-world knowledge. How do you do things within your own organization? And so that's just something that I want you to be aware of, something I want you to watch out for. So the test requirements, no requirements, no certain number of years of IT experience, but it does help to have taken A+ and Network+. Okay, the next exam, or the next certification, the Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP. It is very well known. It's been around for quite some time. This one isn't recommended for the person that has only taken A+ and Network+. It's not recommended for the person that is strictly a help desk person, because this is a very, very comprehensive test. Now what's interesting, when I say comprehensive, we look at a lot of different areas. We want you to have network administration experience, enterprise admin experience, be a security professional for a couple different reasons. The description of the class, and there are a lot of books that have been written about CISSP. One of the best descriptions that I've seen is CISSP is 8 miles wide in regards to the amount of information that you wind up going through. And it's 1 inch deep. You have to have a wide range of knowledge. But like Security Plus, it's not really going into how do you actually break into a network. What tools would you use? What would be the, for instance, syntax within a program that would allow you to? You don't get into that detailed information. Like Security Plus, you start looking at the basics of security. And there's a wide range of areas. There's actually 10 different areas that you take a look at. I didn't put them on this slide, but you can go out to ISC squared to look at the 10 different domains that are out there. But one of the things that you need to be aware of, you can take this test at any time you want. It's okay, you can take the test. Even if you don't have real-world experience, you can take the test. But even if you pass the test, now this test, the CISSP, this is a grueling test. 250 questions, 6 hours. When I took the test, I got done in 2 hours. Took another 2.5 hours to go back through to make sure that I didn't overlook anything. And anyone can pass this test. You don't have to have any real-world experience to take the test. Now, when I say the test requirement, I should have said certification requirement. Because after you pass this test, you need to be able to show 4 years of security experience within 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 10 domains that are out there. You have to show how you have worked within the security field within those 10 domains. On your resume, and they have very specific instructions on how to do it, you will put information about what you did and what domain it pertains to. So if you already have your resume already set up with what you've done in the world of IT, you could then go ahead and just add to that resume. And I know you're told keep it at a one-page resume if you can. Keep a one-page resume, and that's what I normally have for my resume. But when I submitted it for ISC squared, I actually went on to the second page because I just added lines talking about what domain each one of my experiences pertain to. You also need a sponsor, someone that already has the certification and as an instructor, I can't sponsor my students. But someone within the IT world that already has CISSP, well, you can ask them to go back through, look at your resume, confirm your job experience, and basically sign a piece of paper saying they went back through and confirmed, did a background check on you. If you don't know someone that is a CISSP, through ISC Squared, they can actually take the time and go through and sponsor you as well. So the sponsor can be someone that you know, someone work-related, or go back through ISC Squared. You can take the test, but unless you have the 4-year security experience within the one of the 10 domains, or break it up among the 10 domains, and a sponsor, you will not get the certification. As I said, this test is very broad. When you take this particular class, there are no hands-on labs. So you're not going back in and you're not installing a web server. You're not going back through and making sure that the service account, the IUser_name of the server, only has read access. You're not going through and setting up radius authentication where you open up ports 1812 and 1813 through a firewall to get to your radius server, also now known through Microsoft as your diameter server, also known as your NAP, Network Access Protection, or NPS, Network Protection Service server. So you're not physically doing any of the work. It's a straight lecture class. And so, like Security Plus, CISSP is a 5-day class. The difference is this one is straight lecture. And what I tend to do when I teach this class is I also leave time at the end of each day to go through questions, study questions, to help you get the mindset for the certification exam. As I write questions for certification exams, I'm going to go back even to the CISSP exam for this one. I'm not saying I wrote questions for this one, but having written questions in the past, please remember what I write down is what I mean. And so by giving you some time at the end of each day to go through questions regarding the chapters that we've talked about, you're going to get used to the style of questions. Now, my first job, and I'll just give you another example, my first job in high school was with Kentucky Fried Chicken. The most important thing that you need to protect if you work for Kentucky Fried Chicken is the original recipe. If the original recipe gets out, Popeyes, Church's, whoever else it may be, Brown's Chicken, they all want the original recipe. Yeah, can they just analyze the crust once they buy a bucket of chicken? Sure. But it's the mystique of the original recipe that we're worried about. Now, if you were asked to make sure that the original recipe doesn't get altered between point A and point Z, and you're using IPsec and you had a choice between AH, authentication header, which digitally signs the packets, and ESP, which digitally signs and encrypts the packets, ask yourself, would you want to use AH to digitally sign or ESP to sign and encrypt? Most people, when they hear it's the original recipe, will go ahead and want to use ESP because, well, obviously we want to encrypt the information. Well, guess what? I didn't ask you to encrypt. I asked you to make sure the packet doesn't get altered from point A to point Z. And so the protocol that you would use that would guarantee integrity and authenticity and non-repudiation would be AH. AH is the correct answer in that scenario. You know, there are a lot of people that can take books, read the information in the books, and then try to take certification exams. The benefit that you get from New Horizons by taking a class with a certified instructor is you get their point of view, you get their philosophies, you are able to, and we can't tell you what's on the certification exams, but we can help you get prepared for the exams by understanding the mindset that you need when you walk in to take certification exams. And so that investment in taking classes is going to help out quite a bit, in my opinion. That's what makes it worthwhile taking classes from a certified instructor. Okay, the last certification that we have that we're going to talk about is from EC Council, Certified Ethical Hacker. Now, here's the thing with Certified Ethical Hacker. If you've only taken A+ and Network Plus and you try walking into the class or you watch TV, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves, people that watch NCIS and see Abby doing all of her work and then going, wow, that looks interesting, and they want to take a class like Certified Ethical Hacker because, well, I saw it on NCIS and it looks easy. It's television. The audience for this class, these are folks that I want to have a lot of real-world experience if possible. Now, if you don't have a lot of real-world experience, A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, your Microsoft classes, understanding how information travels from point A to point Z, this is important because Certified Ethical Hacker is a very comprehensive class. Unlike CISSP, which is 8 miles wide and 1 inch deep, this is 8 miles wide and 8 miles deep. I mean, we go deep, dark, and heavy into how systems are compromised. And you need to have a good understanding of the OSI model and how information is supposed to travel from point A to point Z, because we are going to look at this from the perspective of the hacker. This is truly an offensive class. We're not teaching you how to defend against everything, although you'll get an idea of things you can do to make it more difficult to hack your network. But we're looking at how a hacker compromises your system based on everything you learned from A+, Network Plus, from your Microsoft classes, from your Cisco classes. And we're looking at how we take advantage of poor coding within different applications. We take a look at any and all different vectors where you can be compromised at. Very comprehensive. By Wednesday morning, if your brain isn't mush, we haven't done our job in this class. We throw a lot of stuff at you. We do give you an opportunity to work on SABs as well. The nice thing is with this class, you do get 2 volumes of material regarding the topics. You also get a 3rd book with written out labs. Now, we don't use the lab book within the class. Once again, we have labs on demand, where we have the lab machines available to you for 6 months from during the class and from the end of the class, with the instructions written out. We give you a boatload of different tools that we talk about within the class. Some of them are beta versions, some of them are demo versions, some of them are live full versions of the different tools that you would use to compromise a system. And one of the reasons why we use the virtual machines, the labs on demand, that way you don't accidentally destroy your own network. Now, you do have access to the little box of disks with all the tools as well, so if you do have a lab environment of your own and you want to practice compromising computers with the different tools, and by the way, the same tools that we use to compromise computers can also be used to protect computers, because if you can see what a hacker sees, using some of the tools, like Nesses is a vulnerability scanning tool, a hacker would want to see what you're vulnerable to know what we can use to attack you. But you can reuse those same tools to help protect your network. And that's why we also have the CHFI class as well, the Computer Hacking Forensics Investigator class with the certification. But that's a future certification. But you have hands dirty with the different tools to see how systems can be compromised. Now, the only prerequisite for this particular test is to take the class. Once you take the class, you can sign up for the certification test, and this certification test is 150 questions, 4 hours. Very deep, very detailed. You're looking at code from applications to try to see what they're attempting to do. And we talk about, the code within our classes. There are some, general questions as well, but we take a look at more detailed, comprehensive areas to understand what's happening, when it's happening, why it's happening. It's a fun class, and it will really test you mentally as you go back through. And if you're not afraid to turn on your computer by the time we're done with the class, I'd be very surprised. Now, those were the 3 main certifications out there. Now, trying to go ahead and get approval from your organization to go ahead and take certification classes, to get certified, to take these classes, can be interesting because there's a couple, mindsets out there. If you were to ask upper management, if you were to ask an administrator, and having been a network administrator for a long time, if you were to ask me if I have any security issues in my organization, no. It's all ego-driven. If I were to tell you that I've got security issues, I'm a failure as a network administrator. I don't want to give people a reason to get rid of me, because if I say my network's weak, then I don't know how to do my job, and I'm a failure. That gives them reason to find someone else. Companies, network administrators, enterprise administrators, top brass in a company will never admit that they have security issues because that could lead to bad publicity, collateral damage. And so when you're approaching that topic, it's like cancer. If you don't say the C word, you'll never get the C word. Oh, shoot, I just said the C word. Okay, I'm in trouble. But even if they aren't aware of security issues, there are security issues. You may have been compromised and you don't even know it. You may have been compromised, but you don't tell anyone. The biggest problem that I have trying to convince folks to let me take classes to get certified is the IT department. It's a cost center, not a profit center. I cost the company money. Anytime I want to buy new equipment, anytime I want to get certified, take a class, it's taking away from their bottom line. It's taking away from their Christmas bonus, basically. What I need to be able to do is show a cost justification to be able to show how I am going to save the company money. If you had a couple security incidences that took place last year, and you can add up the collateral damage, and you can show how having taken certification classes could have prevented this incident, that's collateral damage off the books. That's money that they now have during Christmas for their Christmas bonus. So justifying taking the certification exams, taking the classes, you have to show return on investment. How do you do that? Add up your collateral damage. Now remember, IT security is never proactive. It's always reactive. Now some of you might argue with me saying, now wait a minute, I haven't been compromised. I'm going ahead and installing service packs, hotfixes, and patches. I'm closing off ports. I'm doing basically integrity checks looking at the files to make sure nothing's been altered. I'm doing this before I've been compromised. How is that not proactive? Well, how do you know to do all those things? Why are you doing all those things? Because someone else has already been compromised. And my goal is to prevent it from happening to me. How do you learn what's happened, how it's happened? By taking classes. Another way to justify the classes and the certifications, research to see if you have to deal with regulatory rules and laws. Some of the things that you have to deal with, HIPAA compliance, Gramm-Leach, Bliley, you have to show due diligence, due care. Go back through, show how you've been doing anything you can within the industry norms to prevent the disclosure of PII. And you can become compliant with these regulatory rules by having certifications. And one of the beauties also with the certifications, besides the regulatory rules and laws, if any of you deal with the military, with the government, there's a directive out there, the 8570 directive, saying that you have to have a minimum level of certification in order to work on government systems. And so this could actually also give you an in because you do meet minimum criteria. You might have an edge over a competitor that loses a contract because they don't meet the minimum. Another thing, with taking the classes, even if as an administrator, and like I said, it's all ego-driven, you don't want to admit that your systems may have been compromised at one time or another. Well, I said that this is a reactive. Okay, everything is reactive. If I can be reactive in a proactive way, in other words, learn about how others have been compromised and what the mindset is of the hacker and how things do get compromised, I might be able to prevent a situation from happening within my own organization. Okay, last but not least, I know this was a seminar just talking about the mindset behind the three most popular, the top security certifications. As an administrator, most administrators will always complain about the end users. The end users are causing me to have to come in over the weekend because they destroyed my network. I hate end users, blah, 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 blah. Well, some of the things that we need to think about is how are the end users able to compromise our systems? How are they able to mess up my computer systems? Well, a lot of times it's because of what I do as an administrator, what rights and permissions I've given them. But other times it's based on their actions. There's a whole opportunity out there for organizations to show due diligence and due care, to show that they have trained their end users the right way. There are classes, instead of a 5-day class like CEH, like CISSP, like Security Plus, instead of these 5-day classes, there are shorter classes for the end user. A lot of times the issues that we run into are because of actions by the end user. You're going to hear the phrase early and often, you can't patch stupidity. And it's true. I mean, ignorance is a terrible thing. People propping doors when they go on smoke breaks, people holding the door open for someone, letting them into a secure area, people sharing passwords. There are a lot of different things that end users do that can compromise what would have been a secure system. So something I want you to think about as an organization in the future is invest in end user training. Think about the collateral damage that is done by end users' actions. And investing a little bit into the education of your end users can actually prevent major collateral damage. One of the classes that I do recommend, one of the certifications out there, is called CSCU. It's Certified Secure Computer User. It's from EC Council. It used to be called Security 5. It used to be called Security 5, but now it's CSCU, Certified Secure Computer User. Educate the end users. Show due diligence, due care as an organization to reduce your culpability if there is an incident. It'll reduce the amount of fines that your company may face and actually make your network even more secure. I want to thank everyone for taking the time and listening to the presentation. I know this is during a lot of your lunch hours, and so taking the time out shows that you do care about your organization, and security should be one of the top priorities of all organizations out there. So at this time, I'm ready for any questions that you have, and if for some reason, and I'm pretty good at what I do have quite a bit of knowledge, but if you do ask a question, I'm not 100% sure of the answer, I will get the answer for you, and then we'll have that passed on to you as well. So, Anthony, if there's anything that anyone's passed on to you, just let me know, and I'm more than happy to help out.
So there aren't any questions in the box yet, but if you guys have questions, feel free to send them in, and we'll relay them over to Ken. And thank you for that presentation as well, Ken. That was very informative.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
So I have a question from Jasper that says, what do you suggest for management level training?
Okay, for management level training. Now, when you say management level training, would this be the CEO, CFO type of scenario?
Jasper, if you could clarify. He says IT manager level.
The IT manager itself? Now, one of the things that I do recommend would be certifications like CEH. I would recommend that. But also looking at, from an IT perspective, ECSA, which is the EC Council Certified Security Analyst and License Penetration Testing, where you learn about how to find the vulnerabilities in your network. Now, sometimes the manager, the chief information officer, may not be doing the hands-on like the enterprise admin would be doing. But I do recommend sitting and taking these classes as well to fully understand what we're fighting as enterprise administrators. Because unfortunately, sometimes in some organizations, and I'm not saying every company is like this, but you might discover the chief information officer may have come from a different department and was placed in that position for some reason unknown to anybody else, and they have no IT background. If they don't have an IT background and they're more of a project manager overseeing the organization, then I would start them off with the A+, Network Plus, and definitely the Security Plus at a minimum. So that way they understand the lingo, they understand what the administrators are talking about, because they wind up having to report back to the vice presidents and the presidents of the organization. And if they don't understand the severity of the issues that we're facing, then you're definitely never going to get the funding for the disaster recovery, the business continuity plans. You're not going to get the money for being able to learn about how systems are compromised. So if they don't have any background, at least Security Plus. If they already have some background, CEH, and even CISSP, because it is, I'd probably lean more towards CISSP because it is just a broad understand the terminology.
And
I answered it without answering it, I think.
And understanding that I have very little technical, I work in marketing, as I mentioned, would ITIL be something that, is there a security focus in ITIL at all?
There are classes in ITIL. ITIL, there are a lot of classes on the basics on communication, how to set things up to communicate properly. And so there are a lot of classes in ITIL. One of our instructors here in Indianapolis, Greg Teague, is one of our ITIL instructors, and he does a fantastic job with all the ITIL classes. He's teaching one this week, as a matter of fact. But it's the basic procedures on how to do step-by-step to communicate properly. So that would be a good base as well. Good point. Appreciate that, Anthony.
So I'm not seeing any other questions right now, but obviously Ken and myself will hang out for a couple more minutes in case you do have questions. We have a question. Can we get a copy of the slides? Yeah, Ken, can you email that to me and I'll shoot it out to you guys?
I already sent it to you.
Oh yes, you did.
Actually, I did one revision. I can go ahead and send you the revision.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem.